Om Srimate Ramanujaya Namaha Shuklam Bharadharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vighnopashantaye Jnananandamayam Devam Nirmalasphatiकाकृतिम् Adharam Sarva Vidyanam Hayagrivam Upasmahe Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhirbhavatu me sada. Namaste to everybody, and we'll start the Geetaartha Sangraha session number 16. Yatpadambhoruhadhyana vidhvastaasheshakalmashah vastutaamupayatoham Yamuneyam namamitam yo nityamachyutapadambujayugma rukma vyamohatastaditarani trinayamene asmatguror bhagavatosya dayaika sindhoh ramanujasya charanau sharanam prapadye. Last time we saw the summary of chapter number 9, that is Rajavidya Rajaguhya Yoga. Today we will see the summary of chapter 10, that is Dashamodhyayaha Vibhuti Yogaha, the yoga of the divine glories of the Lord. So this chapter has 42 shlokas, and we'll first start with the summary as given by Swami Yamunacharya, Geetaartha Sangraha shloka number 14, giving a summary of chapter 10. Svakalyana gunanantya kritsna svadhinata matihi bhaktyutpatti vivruddhyartha vistirna dashamodita. Svakalyana gunanantya kritsna svadhinata matihi bhaktyutpatti vivruddhyartha vistirna dashamodita. The meaning is Bhakti Utpatti Vivruddhi Artha, means Bhakti Utpatti, in order for the Bhakti in the Lord to arise. Bhakti Utpatti means for the Bhakti to get born in the person, to get arisen in the person, and Vivruddhyartha. 1 minute. And once the bhakti has arisen, in order for the bhakti to increase, to become increased, to become nurtured, vivruddhyartha, that is the purpose of this bhakti. First bhakti has to arise, and then bhakti has to increase. So that is for those two things to happen, what should happen? What should be done? Svakalyana gunanantya kritsna swadhinata matihi. Svakalyana guna anantya means the unlimited nature of Bhagavan's auspicious qualities. Anantya, that is the infinite nature of the Bhagavan's auspicious qualities, point number 1. And Kritsna Swadhinata Matihi, knowledge of Bhagavan being the controller of everything. Bhagavan is the Swadhinata, everything, Kritsnam, everything is under the control of Bhagavan. So these two things, Vistirna, in detail, Dashama Udita. Dashama Udita means they are explained in chapter 10. First, in order for bhakti to arise and also for the bhakti to become increased or nurtured, two prominent things are told. One is the infinite nature of Bhagavan's auspicious qualities, and second, knowledge of him being the controller of everything. So in chapter 10 are described in detail the infinite auspicious infinite auspicious attributes of the Lord, and his absolute control over everything, so as to generate and develop bhakti in the mind of the aspirants. So that is the summary of Geetaartha Sangraha shloka for chapter 10. Now we will look a little bit into the Geetaartha Sangraha Raksha by Swami Vedanta Deshikar. So Geetaartha Sangraha Raksha for chapter 10, whatever Swami Vedanta Deshikar has written is shown here. Two things he tells. One is Navama Sangati Purvakam is what he tells. Means what Bhashyakarar tells in the Sangati for the Dashama Skanda, Dashama Adhyaya, and then he tells about Ekadasha Arambhe. At the Sangati for the Ekadasha Aramba. If you see Bhashyakarars, that is Bhagavad Ramanujacharya's Bhagavad Geeta Bhashya, at the beginning of each chapter there is a Sangati. Sangati means a preamble. A preamble or a Sangati or a Sambandha or a Avatarika, it is called Avatarika. So that will give a connection between previous chapter and this chapter. So that Sangati he gives for each chapter, and I will show you the Sangati in the next page. So what Bhashyakarar tells about the Sangati for this chapter. Bhakti Yogaha Sa Parikaraha Uktaha. In the 9th chapter, what was told was Bhakti Yoga was taught with all its accessories. Idanim, now Bhakti Utpattaye. So earlier the Bhakti Yoga was taught with accessories. Now in order to induce such devotion, in order for the devotion to arise in the person, Tad Vivriddhaye cha, and also to nourish or to increase it, to make it more abundant, to increase the quantum of bhakti, Bhagavataha Nirankusha Aishwaryadi Kalyana Gona Anantyam means the eternity. Nirankusha Kalyana Guna Gana Anantyam means the groups of auspicious qualities, the eternity, the infinity of the group of auspicious qualities. What kind of auspicious qualities? Nirankusha Aishwaryadi means unchallenged sovereignty of the Lord. Gunakana Anantyam Kritsnasya Jagataha Tat Sharirataya Tadatmakatvena Tat Pravartyatvam Cha Prapanchate. And everything being his body, we have the Sharira Shariri Bhava. So everything, all the world which we see is the body of the Bhagavan, is what we say. Being his body, has him only as the self. He is the Antaryamin of everything, and everything is governed by him. So he is everything which we see around is his Sharira, and he is the Antaryami of everything, and everything is controlled, governed by him. So these things are told in detail in this chapter. Idanim means in the 10th chapter. So this is the preamble to 10th chapter by Bhashyakarar. Next, in the beginning of the 11th chapter also, Bhashyakarar mentions about the 10th chapter that we will see. Evam Bhakti Yoga Nishpattaye Tad Vivriddhaye cha. Thus, for the onset of Bhakti Yoga and for its gradual progress, gradual increase, Sakaletara Vilakshanena Swabhavikena Bhagavad Asadharanena Kalyana Guna Ganena Saha, along with the hosts of auspicious qualities which are unique to Bhagavan, that are natural to him, and that are distinct and different from the qualities of every other entity. Sakaletara Vilakshana. So we say that Bhagavan is different and distinct from everything other than Bhagavan. So that is what is told by Bhashyakarar. Bhagavataha sarvatmatvam tata eva tad vyatiriktasya kritsnasya Chidachidatmakasya Vastujatasya Tat Sharirataya. And Bhagavan's presence as the inner self of all of us, and due to that only the entire group of substances, that is consisting of Chidachidatmaka, the sentient and non-sentient, that are different from Bhagavan, being the body of Bhagavan's body, Bhagavan's Sharira, Tad Ayatta Swarupa Sthiti Pravrittitvam Cha Uktam. They have all their essential nature, sustenance and functioning depending upon him, was told in the 10th chapter, is what Bhashyakara is telling. Now, for the beginning with the prelude for 11th chapter, he says, Tam etam bhagavad asadharanam swabhavam kritsnasya tadayatta swarupasthiti pravrittitam cha bhagavad sakashat upashratya Evam eva iti nishchitya tatha bhutam bhagavantam sakshat kartu kamaha Arjuna uvacha. Arjuna asked a question at the beginning of 11th chapter. For that, this is the prelude. So, Swarupa, Sthiti, Pravritti. These three things are all under Bhagavan's control. What is Swarupa? The Swarupa, Sthiti, Pravritti are existence, sustenance, and functioning. So, everything what we see around us, the Swarupa, Sthiti, Pravritti, is under the control of Bhagavan, is dependent on Bhagavan, is what is telling. And based on that, Arjuna asked the question. So in this chapter is told the vibhutis, the glories of the Lord, which we see next. Before going to the glories, I want to tell you something about what Lord Krishna tells, as mentioned in the Geetaartha Sangraha Kavacha, the Kannada book by Settlur Srinivas Rangacharya, where Bhagavan tells how his glories function through all of us. For example, we see these two shlokas, shloka number 4 and shloka number 5. Buddhir jnanamasammohaha kshama satyam damashamaha sukham dukkham bhavo bhavo bhayancha bhayamevacha ahimsa samata tushtis tapodanam yasho ayashaha bhavanti bhava bhutanam matta eva prithagvidhaha, he says. Means all these things, matta eva prithagvidhaha, all these things, all the different mental functions as told in the first 3 lines, which we will see, bhutanam, of the beings, are caused, being controlled by my willing only, Paramatman's willing only, is what he's telling. What are those? Buddhi means capacity of the mind to delineate, to distinguish between right and wrong. Jnanam, the knowledge of specificity of substances. Then asammoha, being undeluded. Kshama, tolerance. Satyam, speaking what is good for the beings. Damaha, Damaha and Shamaha are control of the external sense organs, and Shama is control of the internal sense organ. Sukha, that is the mind. Sukham, Dukkham, happiness and grief. Bhavaha, state of mind, being responsible for giving agreeable experience. Abhavaha, depression of the mind. Bhayam, fear arising from perceiving some cause of grief that may occur. Abhayameva, getting rid of such fear also. Ahimsa, not causing grief to others. Samata, equanimity of mind. Tushtihi, being happy. Tapaha, penance. Dhanam, donation. Yashaha, fame. Ayashaha, infamy. All these things are caused by Bhagavan only, is what he's telling. Lord Krishna is telling in the beginning of chapter 10. Now, I want to tell you one short story with respect to shloka number 9. Krishna tells, Bodhayantah parasparam, machitta madgata pranaha, Bodhayantah parasparam, kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Bodhayantah parasparam is a very interesting statement, and I have listened to lectures in Gokula Institute in Bangalore regarding this when they were talking about that, and there is one interesting story which comes about Bodhayantah parasparam. Bodhayantah parasparam means teaching me mutually, is what it means. When two people meet each other, what do they talk is a question. So nowadays what we talk is, what are you doing, what are your children doing, how much salary they are earning, and these kind of questions. They ask how much is your diabetes, how much is your blood pressure, what did your doctor say, what medicine are you taking, these kind of things people talk. But what do Bhagavad Bhaktas talk to each other? That is the question. When Bhagavad Bhaktas meet, they talk about only Bhagavan. I will tell you one short story which is told in the Jnapaka Chitrashale book by D.V. Gundappa. D.V. Gundappa is a very famous was a famous Kannada author who lived in the previous century, in the 20th century. So he has written his memoirs in the form of a set of books, 7 or 8 books called as Jnapaka Chitrashale. In that, one of the books, in the very first book, he talks about one person called Natti Shastri. So at that time, we are talking about 100 years ago in the city of Bangalore. At that time, the most famous only localities were near the city, the Chamrajpet and those kind of areas. So in Chamrajpet, their house was there. So the Natti Shastri's house was in Chamrajpet. He was a Sanskrit grammar teacher. And every evening between 5 and 7, 4 and 7 or 2 hours in the evening, his friend used to come to his house, and they used to sit on the Kal bench. Kal bench means the stone bench in front of the house in the open area. They used to sit, and each person had two boxes, two some big boxes, one empty box and one box filled with some kind of seed. Let us say tamarind seeds, 1,000 or 1,500 tamarind seeds in each box. One empty box, one box filled with these seeds. Each person is having two boxes. So when they open, when they start 5 o'clock, they will start, and each person will say Om Shri Ramaya Namaha and take one tamarind seed from one box and put it into the other box. And next, take one more seed, take Ramaya Namaha and put it into the other box. Like that, all the 1,000 seeds, 1,500 seeds, they will put from one box to another. That is one cycle. 5 o'clock it starts. So, and by the time 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock is over, they would have emptied both the boxes. I mean, about 5-6 times. So every day they would have told about 5,000 or 6,000 Om Shri Ramaya Namaha. That's what they used to spend time with each other, sitting. Bodhayantah Parasparam is that's what it means. So they were only thinking about the Lord and telling only the Lord's name. Over 2 hours every day they used to spend that evening time is what it means. So when we also meet some people on the train, on the bus, on the aircraft or whatever, Bodhayantah Parasparam is what we have to do, is what it is meaning. Next, he tells about, then Bhagavan starts telling about the vibhutis in shloka number 19. From 19 onwards up to shloka number 41, he tells about the vibhutis. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Hantate kathayishyami vibhutir atmana shubhaha pradhanyatah kurushreshta nastyanto vistarasya me, is what he says. Pradhanyatah kurushreshta, I tell you only the prominent of my auspicious manifestations, only a prominent of my vibhutis, because nasti antaha vistarasya me, there is no end to my manifestation. Means Bhagavan's manifestation, there is no end at all. He is only telling only the prominent ones. So he tells the vibhutis from shloka number 19 up to shloka number 41. So in these shlokas, he tells most of the major important of the vibhutis. And we don't have time to go through all the vibhutis. I will tell you only one shloka to tell about the vibhutis. Brihatsama, shloka 35. Brihatsama tatha samnam Gayatri chandasamaham masanam margashirshoham Rutunam kusumakaraha, is what he says. So what is important for us Sri Vaishnavas is where he says Masanam Margashirshoham, because for us Margali Masam is very important. So Tirupavai Masam, that is the Dhanur Masam, when we get up early in the morning and do the pujas and things like that. Margali Tingal Madinirainda Nannalal is what Andal has also told. So Masanam Margashirshoham is what Krishna tells, and that is what is quoted most in Tirupavai Upanyasams. They tell about this shloka Masanam Margashirshoham. And then one more shloka which is very interesting is Kavinam Ushanah Kavihi, is what he says in one of the shlokas when he tells about the vibhutis. So I got to know, I had listened to a lecture about Bhagavad Geeta about 25-30 years ago, where they had told about a German person who had transformed himself into a Hindu about at that time, 30-35 years ago. And then what name did he give himself as when he became a Hindu? He gave himself the name as Ushanas, is what is told. Kavinam Ushana Kavihi is what Krishna tells. So he became Ushanas. And later on, I came to know that Ushanas is the same as Shukracharya, who is the preceptor of the Daityas. So Shukracharya's name is also Ushanas, is what I heard. Next, we'll go to the 41st and 42nd shlokas, where Krishna tells about a summary of the vibhutis. Yadyad vibhuti matsatvam shrimadurjitameva va tattadevavagachatvam mama tejomsha sambhavam, is what he says. Whichever vibhuti matsatvam, whichever group of beings is controlled, dhimat, Srimat is shining forth, urjitameva va, used in auspicious works, all of that mama teja amsha sambhavam, is what he says. iti avagacha. So know that it is arising from a fraction of my Bhagavan's stages or inconceivable power of ruling, is what it says. If we see chapter 11, where Krishna shows the Vishwarupa Darshana to Arjuna. When Arjuna sees the Vishwarupa, he cannot make out what is there. Then Krishna himself reveals that. He says, Divyam dadami te chakshuhu pashyame yogameshwaram. He says, I'll give you divine eyes for you to see, is what he says. And then Arjuna, when he sees only in one small portion of that entire Vishwarupa, he will see the universe, the physical universe which we are there, is what I heard in read in one of the commentaries. So our physical universe, which is so many billion light years in dimension, is what we say, that some Webb telescope and Hubble telescope are all going on finding further and further objects, some 12 billion light years away, 11, 12 billion light years away, the objects are there. So that whole universe, what we see, the entire length and breadth of this universe is sitting in Ekamshena Sthito Jagat, is only one fraction, one tiny portion, one small fraction of the Bhagavan's form, is what it says. So then imagine what size we are when 12 billion, 13 billion light years itself is such a small fraction of the Bhagavan. Then what fraction will each of us be, and whatever we have, how much it will be, we can make out. So that is what is the size of the Vishwarupa compared to whatever physical dimensions we know. So that brings me to the end of this 10th chapter summary. Swakalyana gunanantya kritsna swadhinata matihi bhaktyutpatti vivruddhyartha vistirna dashamodita. So this is a summary of the chapter number 10, the Vibhuti Yoga. If you have some 2-3 more minutes, I want to tell one small story also about one person by name Devudu Narasimha Shastri, who was a great Kannada author, Kannada writer. So there was once upon a time, Devudu Narasimha Shastri himself passed away in 1962. So more than 50, 56, 57, 60 years ago around, he passed away. So when he was in his youth, an incident had happened where he was a scholar in the Bhagavad Geeta, in the Mahabharata, in the Yoga Vasishtha also. He has translated to Kannada. Once he was giving a lecture in Udupi on the Bhagavad Geeta topic. At that time, what happened is, when he was on the stage in the middle of his lecture, somebody passed a piece of paper to him, and he passed a piece of paper to him, and then he continued the speech. He brought the speech to a logical conclusion, and then afterwards he said, I cannot continue in the further part of the program. I have finished my speech and brought to logical place. Now please, can you send me to the bus stand, because I have to catch a bus and I have to go to Mysore right now, because I got the information that my son has passed away, is what Devudu Narasimha Shastri told. So then the organizer said, you could have told it earlier itself. No, I am telling about the Bhagavad Geeta, and Bhagavad Geeta tells about this. So this is the message that Bhagavad Geeta gives. So I have to follow that message, is what he said. And then he finished the speech, brought to logical conclusion, and then went for the final rites of his son, is what they say about Devudu Narasimha Shastri's in the story I read in one of the magazines, and you can also find in the Wikipedia page of Devudu Narasimha Shastri about this particular incident. So this brings me to the end of this session. If there are any questions, and if I can answer those questions, then I will answer. Otherwise, we can go to chanting of chapter number 14. I can stop the recording and tell the 14th chapter. Any questions are there? We can I can answer. I can address if I know. Okay, we'll close the session. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Samasta Sanmangalani Bhavantu Srimate Ramanujaya Namaha.